nicht sehen. Da kann ich sehen, ob man erst oder nicht. Okay, we're live. Aha.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. Okay, we are quite obviously having some technical issues. Apparently, some nasty hacker compromised our network. Maybe the reason is also that all three of us actually tried to do it from home. In Florian's case, if you could see his background, it looks like he's still in the office, but it isn't. It's actually his home.
It's my home office.
It's your home office. Your home office is much fancier than my actual full home is. But anyways, welcome to whoever's there. I can't see a thing, so I'm just going to stare blindly at the screen. And Tom is having even more difficulties than we have, so he's supposed to join us maybe later if he manages to wrangle and wrestle his internet to actually work.
I think I might have managed.
There he is.
Have I?
Okay. Yes, you're live and in color.
I just managed to destroy my entire connectivity. I'm terribly sorry. I feel blind and helpless.
Okay. Anyways, it's as good as we can get it now. So this is what we'll have to live with. Okay. So somebody's again? Sorry for being confused. Usually we're slightly better organized than that. But due to a lot of technical difficulties, we are just running into this now. It's sort of hot sim. So Flo, you're running this, so you're the only one seeing any questions or anything else, because I can't see.
Yes, I see the questions, but I think to start it all up, we should talk about the patch that's currently out. I hope everyone has played it. You know, the one with Rent a Hench, the one with the elves, and the one with the long asked for in mission chat, so you can finally talk to the other one who play with you.
Okay, so what do we talk about? I mean, we have it. It's there.
Yeah, but we'd like to get feedback from everyone else. Tom, I'm sure you'd like to talk about the next one.
I suppose I would. There's a bunch of things that we're currently working on, or rather that is causing our hair to fall out. One of the big things that we're working on now is adding proficiencies. So basically, that's all the weapon skills.
And magic and hacking.
And magic and hacking and everything else that makes things go boom. We're really excited about that because it means that we're sort of finally tackling the whole R bit of the RPG. So up to now it's basically just been select your stuff and have at it, and now we actually finally have a concept of like a permanent character, which you can invest in, where you can actually decide what you're good at and what you're not so good at. So it's obviously quite an exciting time for us. We're also building a bunch of new systems around that. So yeah, for the next one you should be seeing sort of the first version of the proficiency system. We'll probably give you a limited amount of karma to play with. We'll add a reset option, so it probably won't cost anything to sort of go back and try something different. So yeah, this is sort of the big thing for the next update.
And we're literally still fighting about it. Tom and I had an email exchange before, and we'll continue to do it after the Q&A at 10 at night. Armor wrestling.
I had hoped on sort of pouting now for half an hour, so and hoping that everything settles down again. But yeah.
No such luck.
Next thing that we've been working on is extending our range of meta types. So you were pretty vocal about that you wanted to see trolls next. Since up to the last patch, everybody was kind of sameish still. The characters are now also of different sizes, so that does really make a huge difference within the character creation and also within the game.
Especially with the trolls, it's a huge difference.
Huge, huge.
No pun intended. Taking the troll by its horns, are you, young man?
Yes.
Yeah, but obviously we are now sort of fixing everything that needs fixing when you try to squeeze very big people in very regular-sized worlds. pretty much. So there's a bunch of clothing items that need fixing. Some of the weapons are off. So everything that you would expect when suddenly something is 1.5 times the size that you're used to. And we're still having a debate of where the customization options for troll horns should go. So yeah, this is sort of like a ton of very tiny problems, but it still adds up in the end. Another big thing that we've been working on for quite a while now is getting all the sort of story bits into place for the missions. We're now working on a sort of mission intro that we can actually have characters talking to each other before a mission, as well as having options for our level designers to place sort of story-relevant bits within missions.
So the missions will become less of a. I think the goal here is to actually have more of a storytelling than other than just the intro, and also to be able to get something happening in the mission that's not just run in, read a story intro, run in, kill everything, run out again. So,
yep. Yeah. And since we now know for a fact that nobody reads the loading screen text anyway,
I'd love to read the loading screen text.
Well, you're the only one. I'm so sorry.
There were a couple of users who pointed out our spelling mistakes.
This is what I'm saying. People will notice.
Yeah,
and I'm glad, but it should be so much more readable in the future, I hope. And of course, all the sort of story bits that we had so far in the missions were fairly handcrafted, so it was a lot of work for the level designers to do that, and it was very inflexible. So I think you probably noticed it over the past 2 updates, when we added sort of player-created characters and added customization, that a lot of the texts were broken. This is because most of them relied on sort of very much individual love to work, and it wasn't so much of a solid system that we had. Yeah, what else is on the menu?
I want to say the L word.
There is no L word.
Okay.
What L word?
The L word.
The L word. Yeah, the L word. Yeah, I think we can. Can we talk about that already?
We can talk.
Yeah,
I think
so.
We can talk about it as an ongoing process, right? We don't need to be as hazy. There is because it also coincides with the first question that's been still left unanswered, and
Okay,
that's
so
been repeatedly asked from us online in forums, to Facebook, by sending threatening letters, as well as ticking parcels, which we usually just throw out until we realize it's a ticking cake. But yeah, the L word.
Yeah, we are working on the Linux version, and not just.
We are working on the Linux version.
It has been seen running, like actually loads the game and you can play mission on a virtual machine. There's still a ton of things to be fixed, like we broke all of the shaders, obviously. But yeah, so this is going to be happening soon. It's not going to be out for the next update, but unless something goes terribly, terribly wrong, we'll have it for the one after that.
So please, everybody who is onto us about the Linux thing, we did say we wanted to do it. We are doing it. We are painfully aware of the fact that a lot of people like Linux and want us to do a Linux version. But now, when we actually do one, I want all of you to get all of your friends who also have Linux to buy the game, because it's been a hard task for us to get it done, and I want us to be rewarded handsomely.
Handsomely.
Of course.
Can we do handsomely? Yeah, we should do handsomely. Anyway, yeah. So, barring any horrible disasters, you'll be able to see that within a couple of weeks. We're probably not going to do proper support for all the distros out there, of course. Yeah, but Linux power, man, it's unheard of, really.
Totally.
Another big thing that we haven't really talked about in the past is, since we are doing proficiencies for the next update, we're already working on sort of extending the character creation, spinning off the inventories. So pretty much all that role-playing game bits that you've been asking about, since like the character creation, inventory, loadout, whatever screen now is sort of every functionality that we had in there just rolled into one screen. Since we're adding lots like new gear and new weapons, it's getting kind of clunky to use because you sort of have to click through all the options. So that entire section of the game is going to get a big overhaul and a bunch of new functionality as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is kind of
the
where we're
next
at
two
now.
updates. Yeah, the next two updates, if all goes according to plan, which we all know it never does, you'll have progression abilities in, at least skills, and following skills, we can give you karma, so you can spend it on getting more skills or better skills. With this, there's also something of a progression inside the difficulty. Currently, we just assume an ongoing solid state of difficulty in the missions, which is, as we all know, a really solid difficulty. I'm so 10 o'clock night. I'm starting to get really humorous.
Punishment.
Yeah, punishment. Haha, that's a good one as well. But that means that the game is becoming sort of getting its different levels of difficulty, getting its different flavors, getting progression in, and then finally getting a sort of itemization in where you can then fiddle around with your equipment as well in a way that needs to be determined further down the road. So this is basically the two big pillars of RPG, alongside the third pillar that is the storytelling and the in-mission stuff happening, and that will give hopefully a much more rounded experience than the more, let's say, tactical combat experience we're currently looking at now. So we're really excited about that. We are.
On the yeah, well, as always. On the tactical combat side, one cool thing that we've added in the last week is that now our enemies can actually have more than one skill, so they don't just shoot at you anymore. We're still playing around with it and seeing what we can do with it. But for now, the sort of mini boss, the big Drekker in the first mission, we made him reload his shotgun once in a while. So the AI fights a bit fairer now.
Yes, and it also gets a bit more interesting because it's not just about killing everything that runs at you, but there's also ways to use certain breaks in the action.
And I think you're gone.
Yes, sounds like it.
Anyways, yes, breaks in the action. Like one of the major problems that we're tackling is, or the feedback that we got is that the game is getting a very tower defensy at the moment, because you do need to take care of every enemy that's sort of in a position to harm you right away, or pretty much you're toast. And this is, of course, because they don't have anything to do but shoot at you. So yeah.
Yep. We'll give them more interesting things to do than shoot at you.
Like blow you up with grenades.
Grenades. Oops, you said grenades.
Oh damn, shouldn't have said that. No, I regret nothing.
Oh, okay.
We will have grenades.
We'll have grenades. It's people have been asking that. I think it's one of the questions. We'll have grenades. We'll have consumables. It's just something that technically, and this one goes out to RC. Bouncy grenades, I don't know, and I don't think, because bouncy grenades are a pain in the ass. Not for the guys at the end of the grenade, but for the guys having to code them. But grenades and other stuff is for us sort of an extension of a skill. So it's not a big technical issue to have them, which means they're on the low risk priority list, which means it's the stuff that we do later when the really difficult ones are. So it's not like we're not doing them. It's just that we know how we're gonna do them. It's easy to the stuff we're doing now. Physical adapts is something as well. Sorry, not at questions. We're still at we have to get on with answering the questions that have been left over.
Maybe regarding the grenades and the sort of actually missing with them and blowing something else up. Some of you might remember we did have for a while the fireball that it missed when you sort of tried to cast it on enemies that were too far away. And while that was one of the many things that seemed like a good idea at the time, ultimately it wasn't really fun. Especially with grenades, which are sort of like a very high impact thing to use, obviously. Blowing yourself up is not that big of a laugh.
Once.
Yeah.
It's fun once. Come on. Everybody loves
it. But it does wear out soon. So
it does wear out soon. I agree.
Like everybody likes to paint the walls red once in a while, but
especially if you're in a co-op and somebody else throws the grenade.
Yeah. the swearing, the shouting, the insults directed at your mother.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Whilst
shall
we're
we-
on the topic maybe of combat and changes to combat, because there's a couple of questions I can see from the open questions and answers, and we'll get to the questions that have been asked in the chat already. No worries, we're just working through the ones we haven't answered last time around. There's a question regarding whether spells will be mana only or if they're also physical spells. And I don't think I'm too far out in saying that the three damage types we have, magic, physical, and technical, aren't necessarily geared towards these three kinds of weapons, but it's just currently for ease of differentiation, we put them all in a group, so all the magic guys do is currently magical damage. But obviously, yes, there will also be physical damage skills that will then be stopped by physical armor as opposed to magic, which when you actually start progressing and have armor as opposed to just the shield spell to carry around, will make a huge difference, obviously.
This. Eric asked last time, will players get experience when used as henchmen? We're not. There will be a reward, yes. We're not sure if it's going to be experience, because in Shadowrun, karma usually is a hard-earned thing, and we're not quite sure if you should sort of be able to progress through the entire game without actually doing anything. So yeah, there will be a reward for your character being used. We're even looking at options to sort of make that a bit more special for like the prom queens of characters. But karma reward, I'm not sure about that.
And if it does, probably not a one-to-one thing, so it's something that is going to be limited. Otherwise, you're just letting other people grind your karma, which is nice. It sounds like fun, but again, it's like buying a Warcraft character from a Chinese player.
Actually, I had a pen and paper round like way back, and there was one of the players. He regularly used to fall asleep at like 11:30, like on the clock, and usually his final words were, "Well, could you just roll the dice for me? I'm just resting my eyes, but I'm listening." So basically, he was AFKing in a pen and paper round.
See, it's all based on reality. Okay, bouncy grenades, we already covered that. Level of personalization to be at for the character creation in regards to hair color, hairstyle, skin tone, faces, choice of body sizes. We're going to stick with the body sizes based on race, so we're not going to do a very thin dwarf, a very fat dwarf, and a couple of different dwarfs in between. The main reason for that is you don't see any of that in the actual gameplay. You see it maybe in the character creation screen, but everywhere else it's just going to go away, and it's going to waste a lot of resources to do something that doesn't have an actual impact in the game. Other than that...
which pretty much means what you're saying is that somebody will have to go in and redo 10 versions of pants to fit new sizes of asses.
Exactly. Yeah, that's. I mean, we had an update. If you're interested in how many pants you need to do to be able to have one set of pants that works throughout the game with everybody.
See, there he said it. It's so much effort that you can just you need to go away and have a blank screen for a bit. The other question was hair color versus hairstyle, skin tone, etc. We will do different colors for items. So you can expect to see everything that we have, basically every customization item in a couple of color versions. We're probably going to do different skin tones for characters, but we're still not quite there because we tried repainting some of them. And while it does work well with the bodies, it starts looking odd with the faces pretty soon. So that does require a bit of extra work to sort of not make it look very weird. And what we're looking at is mostly customization items because they just combine in much more pleasing ways. So.
Okay, chat channels. What's the plan with chat channels? Chats in game between players. We've added the in-mission chat, which is an absolute requirement. I think my personal opinion is we should extend on that with easy to control sort of standard issue commands, but that's another issue. And we have the global chat channel, and there's also, once we have grouping for groups, there should be some sort of specific chat channel for those. I don't want to have too many specific chat channels, because it ends up usually everybody is then, because the chat channels are very quiet if there's no one, if it's a channel about badge hunting or achievement hunting and there's nobody on there, people go to the global channel again, and then we have like 5 empty chat channels and it's a really full one. I'd rather have one global from the get-go. But there's going to be, for grouping, there's going to be chat channels further down the line than once we have guilds or whatever they're called. There's also be a channel for those as well, obviously. Will there be technomancers is the next question.
Don't we answer that like every time?
Yeah, I think so. We have technomancers play a role in our story to a degree. Technically, technomancers are nothing but a mixture between a magical hacker and a technical shaman who can summon sprites to do stuff.
You do know that you're going to get flamed for that.
Oh, I know, but it's on an abstract level. Speaking on an abstract level, the problem with that is since we don't have all the stuff around technomancers that make them interesting, like being hunted like witches and hated by everybody and all that stuff, they are less exciting. Which doesn't say we don't have them. I just wouldn't put them in. I don't think we'll have them out of the gates. But since we're going to have summoning in some way, which means you could also summon sprites, and since we have hacking anyway, technomancers are not a big leap from that. It's, yeah.
So he's saying the same thing that we said last time. It's not out of the question. Not right now. We do not hate them.
Some of us don't hate them.
Well.
Any word on legwork or that role-playing beyond the limitations? That's a tough one. For legwork, we're increasingly lowering our hopes. Basically, legwork to us now means it's not going to be a social gameplay, dialogue tree kind of action. With the story or with the editing tools we've got now, we can make missions that are less shooty, which could also be part of a preparation for a major mission. So in that sense, the legwork is part of the normal mission progression, as you don't usually or don't all the time just jump into anything, and a lot of the story will be around finding out backgrounds, finding ways in, the usual exploratory stuff that happens before you actually go to the major shootout. So in that sense, legwork is there, but it's not going to have a specific different set of rules or something that's like it is, like rolling your dice, saying a week has passed and then getting the information back from the game master. That's not the kind of legwork that we're looking at. What about the leadership, small unit tactics bonus? Yeah.
We will. There will be.
I mean,
there will be supporting gear.
Exactly, there will be supporting gear, but this is more towards the specific gear that's in Shadowrun that allows you to give other people bonuses. That's basically, I think, what it's about. Unit tactic skills, where your tactical skill allows people to fight better because you lead them in some way.
Yep.
I don't see that happening.
It's basically a much later topic. We do have some of the technical stuff in place that we would need for it, but we don't really have a good place to put them yet, and we don't really have the situations yet where it would make sense. So we don't really want to add it now because it would, like in the current mission layout, there's no real need for that. So yeah, much later. If
Was that just me that got disconnected from Thomas, or did
It was
everybody
me.
else hear him okay? Okay, so you just went which I think is probably something important, but I don't speak a computer language, so
sorry.
we couldn't understand the thing you said.
Okay, sorry. I tried to weasel out of not doing small unit tactics skills, so if it wasn't heard, then we could blame it on the machine, and maybe people won't be mad. Would that
Okay.
work?
Yeah. Slightly weaker probably than the one before, but okay. I'll take it. Yeah, it's. I mean, honestly, we don't have enough small units even to have a meaningful small unit combat currently. It's not like you run several squads of units, and one guy has a command skill yet. Okay, more of the questions that we have left over, and then on to the new ones.
We could go to the new ones because we're already.
We're already sort of halfway through. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. How will a stat system character creation be looking like?
We have an ongoing discussion about this, as in currently discussing most of the time. And Tom, please mute yourself, otherwise we just see your photo all the time. And you're not a moving head. So we have this. We have a proficiency that is currently probably like a skill group, the best equivalent of that. So you've got handguns, small arms, whatever, and you have this proficiency can be improved upon, like normal skill points, advancing that. And in turn, this will unlock maneuvers and additional stuff around the maneuvers, so modifiers. For example, with a pistol skill, you could have a skill that says you can, quick draw, which allows you to shoot by spending a move action and not having to spend a full shoot action. And then maybe you have an improved quick draw that helps you do this better, or you have a quick draw that is specifically effective against mages for some reason. So there are modifiers on that. That's currently what we're looking at, and there's obviously the same goes for magical proficiencies, where you have instead of maneuvers, you have different spells that do stuff. We are still talking about other parts, so I don't want to get Tom angry until we've finalized on that. I would like more of the Shadowrun system integrated in the sense of the physical and mental limits thing. So we have some equivalent of stats, which we currently don't really have because they're not that useful. But yeah, that's a discussion that is still ongoing.
Okay.
There's another question about physical adepts, right?
Yes, physical adepts, question mark.
We are almost about to do them for launch, but that depends on the number of skills that we get done decently and the animations that we have left, because physical adepts, first and foremost, need a lot of animation because they're running around and jumping and kicking things and all that you don't have if you just shoot a weapon. We can have gun adepts, but of course gun adepts just street sems without cyber stuff. Yeah, probably they're closer than they were before, let's put it this way.
Okay, is Shadowrun Online more based upon 3rd, 4th edition, or is it a mixture of elements of both?
It's actually more 5th edition by now. The elements, actually, funnily enough, 5th edition, without our participation in it in any way, has become closer to the way it's run, closer to the logics that work well in a digital game. For example, one of the examples is limits. The way we prevent people from just progressing onwards and onwards is there's certain limits. So if you don't raise this stat, you can't use the skill that you raised, or you find a weapon that's really powerful. It's limited in some way, so that also prevents people from power buying, basically. So some parts of that we've taken over. I also really like the concept of noise and all the other stuff that's been more straightforward in the 5th edition. But by and large, we are not doing a rules simulation. We're doing a game that is based on the sense and the spirit of the rules. And I'm sorry, those of you who've already heard me doing that, just walk away and watch TV for a second. The letter of the rules are there to guide a role-playing game, which has specific circumstances. Like it has there's a GM at the table. There's all kinds of situations that are really, really flexible, and the system governing it is geared towards it. It's geared towards rolling dice, making rolling dice exciting. Bidding dice, splitting pools, using edge, all that stuff. That all doesn't happen in the game on a computer in that way. So adapting the rules as a one-to-one basis doesn't make sense to us. What we're trying to do is find a situation that simulates what the rules also try to simulate, which is, for example, exciting, fast-paced 3-second combat, while at the same time having a relatively deep tactical aspect. So it's not an action RPG, it's a tactical RPG, but it's supposed to still be quick, it's supposed to feel like you're in danger, and it usually the rules put you in danger most of the time. So any firefight is going to be deadly, you're not going to have healing potions lying around, stuff like that. So in this sense, we're going with the rules, with what the rules try to create as a situation, not really with that of the rules. Obviously, gear and things like that will be inspired by 5th edition. We are up to date with a timeline, so to speak, and also obviously the story. I mean, that's the other main element, the storyline that we are constantly forging together with Catalyst is going to be part of the 5th edition storyline, and as already mentioned, our game is going to influence the storyline of the Shadowrun universe in turn. So we are actually part of the active ongoing timeline. And hey RC, by the way, seeing you reading there. Good you could make it.
Are there any plans for social spaces for faces and gathering contexts relaxing among players and NPCs?
Yes, there are plans, but it's one of the things where I think I would love to get a decent hub in and the bar and everything else. It's currently looking tough. I think if there is a gathering, it's a gathering of players and not of NPCs. We're not going to do we're simply not capable of doing an interesting NPC that does anything else but give you a pre-generated dialogue tree and then always says the same thing unless you unlock a new level of whatever his mission or whatever is. So an actual meaningful conversation with an NPC I don't think we can do, which means I'd rather have players role-playing. So faces aren't really required in that sense because you don't have to talk your mission givers into giving you a mission anyway. If it were an important mission, we wouldn't be able to stop you from having it, or we shouldn't be stopping you from having it. And so the face becomes sort of a guy that can grind some extra side missions, and that's just not a role I think is interesting enough to support a full archetype. On the social space, as I said, we would like to see them. Maybe currently they're just going to be mainly in the chat and in the actual missions. And later on, there's going to be a social hub, hopefully, that provides more of a role-playing experience as well.
Okay. So that we're fresh out of fresh questions, we should probably head back to the old ones.
There's one about a certain new game also on Steam Early Access, which focuses on the deck experience, though it's not on the Shadowrun license, despite being strongly compared to it. I know that there's. I mean, I've played a beta version of an early access game. I'm thinking you're referring to this one, but you need to be less cryptic about it. Where you're playing a hacker and building up your own network and stuff. That was basically just sort of the Matrix combat thing. We've played it, but that to me would be a complete mini game. If there is another Steam Early Access title you're referring to, I probably don't know it. But unless I know the name, there's so many Steam Early Access titles nowadays that I'm kind of losing track. So yeah, please come back and tell us what title you're actually talking about. And I don't, like, if it's a good title, I don't have any problem of mentioning it in the chat. I think if it's a good, decent title that's interesting to our fans, there's no issue in naming it here. And if it's a good title, we should promote it even, because we love good titles. So some old questions maybe, whilst RC is contemplating my answer. Okay, the one question was, by Crunch, I'll know we'll have the ability to hire our friends, but will the rent-a-hench feature still be a part of the game as well? If so, a refresh bar to load a new set of characters if you don't like any of the immediate ones would be nice. Yeah, see? First you want to keep a feature, and now you want to extend the feature. This is what I always do. And Tom
this is what he always does.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I always do it. Like, I want to keep this and also want to do it differently.
And then he says things like, but we already have that, almost.
Exactly. It shouldn't be much work to just add that aspect.
Well, maybe I can answer that one.
Yeah.
We'll probably keep them out of the rotation, because I think that actual Shadowruns created by other people are much more fun. So you won't be able to hire them, but we will bring them back in the story mission. So you will encounter them again, but since they're sort of much more specific and much more that we can round them out much better as characters now, so that we can place them in specific missions, so they will be carrying a bit more of the story in the future.
Yeah, I think it would be a waste to have them just as henchmen, because as normal henchmen they would just sort of be at your whim, as opposed to having all the witty repartees and the banter that's currently going on, which is much more interesting. The current goal is still a team size of 4, right? That's by Crunch again. Crunch would be really disappointed if it went at the very least 4, especially with all the character types we'll eventually be able to play and in different combinations. Yeah, see? 4 is a lot. 4 is a lot in terms of how long the level takes to finish, and also in terms of the size of the level that's required. We're still fighting about 2 versus 3 most of the time. I think 4 is not the very least. I think 4 is the most that we'll see. It makes sense in a co-op situation with each player having 2 characters, but we need to see how that wreaks havoc with the current maps we've got. I would like 4 as well in a lot of situations, but I've also been taught the wisdom of having fewer characters. I think you still get to see a lot of the skills, which is one of the reasons why we have these player-created henchmen thing going on, that will just allow you to test other loadouts, different combinations, different character classes. But one other thing why you would always want a 4 is to be able to always have one of each, which I don't think is like I would like to prevent groups consisting of one key that fits one specific lock. So you have one guy for magic situation, one guy for tech situation, one guy for weapons, and a 4th guy for secondary weapons. That's just trying to cover all your bases.
Enter a bar.
Yeah, exactly. That's and what we're actually trying to do is creating situations where there may be people that are or character specific skill sets that are more advantageous in specific situations, obviously. So if you go into a high-tech environment, then yes, you want to have somebody with technical skills with you, but the mage shouldn't be utterly useless, because otherwise you get into that point where you know, half of the time you need one guy and you don't need the other. I had that actually, as much as I love Shadowrun Returns, one of the experiences I had there was that exactly because the decks are relatively specific, there were whole missions where I couldn't use the decker at all, like in any meaningful way. Maybe he could hack a lock, but since technically if it's a main mission, you can't stop people from getting into the door anyway. There are always ways around that, so it was just sort of a convenience thing. And if the hack didn't actually, if the decker didn't actually have something to do specifically in going into the matrix, he was useless most of the time. And that got frustrating, especially for deckers. Mages usually now always find a use for a mage because he can kill people with his bare hands. But yeah, we want to prevent situations where you can really only have one specific character type be successful. So in that sense, it's not having the many different combinations just means, you know, try out more of them, try them henches, try them with your own accounts, and don't be too restricted in the archetypes. That's another thing. We don't restrict you. We don't force you to play a streetsome that can only do this one thing, or a decker that can only do this one thing. So I think it's less of an issue. You don't have to have that many characters to have a wide range of choices. And if Tom doesn't say anything, then probably I'm right.
I am silently nodding.
Okay, and there's a question about the social spaces again: clubs, corporate meetings room, BTL dance. Yeah, Beetle dance. Same answer. Probably not in for launch. Definitely something that we gonna have to do and want to do further down the line. Get the core gameplay done well first, and then get people. If there's enough people that like the game, so they want to hang around, building a hangout is definitely gonna be the next thing we want to do.
By the way, RC has chimed in. It's Invisible Ink he was talking about.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. That I have seen, and I like the game. It's at least as far as it's shaping up. So we are looking at that. We're also looking at other. I've even looked at a secret prototype thing from Cyberpunk 2077, which I'm not allowed to tell anybody, of course, because I'm on NDA and they cut off my throat and sent me Polish enforcers. But yeah, we're looking at all the sources we can get. At the same time, we're not trying. Like, I don't want to fall into the trap of incorporating every cool thing that I see somebody else doing. We've got enough on our hands as it is, I think.
Okay. Shall we do two more?
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's do. Have you guys considered multiple endings for missions based on how they accomplished or failed?
Have we considered it? Certainly. Are they gonna come in? Probably not. Failure in a mission is fairly easy because remember, we're not an ongoing world. So if you failed in a mission, there's only two possible outcomes. A, you have to redo it because you were dead or hurt or whatever. And B, if it is a mission that doesn't require you to succeed necessarily, but just tallies up. So, for example, everybody in Boston needs to defend a certain barricade. Let's assume that. And some people fail and others succeed, then there is a tally that goes into sort of a global thing that locks or unlocks specific things. So, like, you all failed, your Boston is going to die miserably, or you all succeeded, Boston is going to survive another day. That kind of stuff. But multiple endings, I don't think. No, I don't think we'll have any of those, because it just means, again, accounting for mission A has been resolved in this way, and mission B has been resolved in this way. It makes the whole skill tree really complicated, and the problem then comes with a co-op. Next time you play with your team, one guy had this ending to the mission, the other guy had another ending to the mission. So what happens now? We give you the same mission, and it all becomes sort of a meaningless pseudo thing, or we give you different missions you can't play together anymore, which is also not good. So currently I would stay away from multiple endings. From a storyline perspective, they make a lot of sense and they're great fun if used in moderation, but I'd rather have the sort of the seamlessness of being able to jump in to another story at any given time.
Okay, and now for the last one. How do you want to balance the difference in rewards, Nuyen and Karma? Like the mage probably needs more Karma than he needs Nuyen, and the other way around for street samurais.
That's easy. We're going to cheat. We usually again, if you look at the rules system, and obviously the mage seems to need more Karma, but then on the other hand, if you look at the rule system in more detail, a lot of the research, which we don't play, for example, in our group, but if you apply the rules strictly, there's a lot of money that goes into research and buying ingredients and stuff like that. So the mage should need more money than the street sam, but there's no pricing table that is really applied to that. There's also training being mentioned, as you have to have a trainer and it costs money. Again, something that we in our rule in our group usually don't do because it's just clunky to keep track of all that stuff and it's slightly boring. But in our game, we can sort of balance that out. So in the same way that everybody needs something in their hand in order to execute a skill. Like the mages need a skull and the other guy needs a weapon. So in that sense, we are treating them similarly. And in the same way, training will cost for both types will cost time and money, resources to upgrade weapons or upgrade magical foci will cost time and money, and Karma will have to be spent on learning new maneuvers that in Shadowrun you get for free as a street sam. You can have a long burst or wide burst or a narrow burst, and that's not going to cost you anything. In our system, it's going to cost you Karma to have a specific skill that executes that maneuver, and that kind of offsets the Karma cost that mages have with their spell abilities. So they're going to be similar because we're sort of bending rules from both ends in that regard.
Okay, I think that was it.
Okay. Well, as you see, the next two updates are going to be pretty exciting again, at least for us, trying to make them happen. Hopefully for you as well when they're actually there. And we're going to keep you updated as always. And we're looking forward to the next QA. Hopefully then, again, from the studio with a stable internet connection and an ongoing Wi-Fi.
Sounds good. Okay, so thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.